Let's start Act II with coincidence and anomaly. The coincidence is when I moved to the city, I rented an apartment for my 5th grade teacher. I went through school with her kids and we all stayed in touch. The complex is called the Washington Mews. A mews is a horse stable, and this is where General George Washington kept his cavalry. The anomaly is when I graduated at NYU, I moved out of my grandparents' basement right to the corner of the NYU campus at Washington Square. In the early spring, I was running errands before work. I was a freelance associate director at NBC. At the corner of the park was a sketch artist. Not tourist stuff, he was kind of a freaky village guy. He looked me over, and then we had this frantically paced, non-communicative conversation about where I worked. I paid him $2 in advance and owed $2 more on delivery. There were a lot more hucksters in the city back then, but I trusted the guy. Next stop was to buy running sneakers. Much harder to do back then than you might think. Chains sold popular sneakers, but not running shoes. In the village, right off the park, I would walk down West 4th Street, where Bob Dylan lived and where he wrote Positively 4th Street. I would always pause at his place just to pay homage. From there, I crossed under the Folk City marquee to find a slice of Nirvana, a running shoe store. The dominant brand then was Adidas. I didn't like Adidas because they were either too light or too heavy, but always narrow in the toe. This store offered a brand on the rise. They featured a promotion: buy a pair of running shoes and get a poster. It was here I first learned that the brand Nike was named for the goddess of victory. Please take note of the poster. Nowhere on it will you find the now ubiquitous swoosh logo. My affinity to the optics, the message, the lifestyle transitioned me to a new level of allegiance. It wasn't about branding or marketing. I heard it as an affirmation of personal values within the human condition. I never missed 3 days in a row as a runner. I became committed to maintaining my status as a runner. And the tempo of running came from within. During this epoch, I also went back to my roots, back to the corner of what is now Hofstra University. I was getting my MBA, wrote a thesis on sports programming and new media technologies. The thesis was literally handwritten and hand-typed. What a hassle. I wrote it in the back of empty NBC control rooms. The best information came from industry sources. NBC became both my library and my workplace. The guys at NBC were really studying what was going on. It was the future of their business, and I was getting information directly from the source. The whole MBA effort was considered a designer degree at the time, and it was. Never used it formally in my career, but what I was absorbing, I still use to this day. NBC was the perfect place for me. It was a ringside seat. Not only with the thesis, but I would be able to hang around, to watch and listen to live, real-time network TV production, news, sports, Saturday Night Live, The Today Show. I would just listen from the headset production line. It felt like for some reason, and for no real reason, I was getting double the benefit from the experience. It was also around this time I became list dependent. I've been making lists forever. It started mostly to keep track of to-do stuff, but morphed into developing strategies. And then it grew some more. Here's a list of every running shoe I've ever worn, with my evaluation and cost. It also comes with a color-coded map of every state I've ever run in. And since I was running, why not track my daily weight? I've been logging it ever since. I can give you monthly, yearly, and a multi-year analysis as well. If you pick a key date in your life, I can tell you how much I weighed. When that worked, why not manually record finances? Again, I could give you monthly, yearly, and multi-year analysis. Of course, I had to expand when I had kids, so I could methodically build their portfolio as well. Speaking of kids, I think I have a complete statistical analysis of every ball they ever hit or shot. I guess I thought I was doing analytics for the majors. In fact, I have numbers for all their teammates as well. Actually, I have them for all the kids that went through the program. If you add it up, weight, money, sport, it morphs into a game I'm developing called Guess My Flab. My sons can win $50 cash by guessing my weight to the decimal point. This is also harder than you may think. But let's get back to Washington Square. The sketch guy found me, and he delivered big. This guy saw me for all of a moment, an instance, and he totally captured me. That's who I was. It was how I presented. It was the energy I gave out, and that's what I look like. In a morning of errands, I came upon 2 instances of incredible connectivity. Both captured me in spirit and task. The controlling voice in the room, who lived in social antipathy. From this, I developed the theory that behavior honed at the start of Act II becomes your personal narrative. But I felt things were going really, really well, and then they got better.
This is the Satellite News Channel. Give us 18 minutes, we'll give you the world.
This is Satellite News Channel. It was a headline news cable competitor to CNN, and it was a startup before startups were a thing. They hired me as an AD, but within weeks I was a director. Everyone at SNC was young and cable ready. We were also ambitious, energetic, and so excited to be there. It bonded a collective group of like-minded people. Most of us are still crossing paths. For perspective, it was very early in the cusp of technology as a common tool and commodity, and it was reflected in the commercials we aired. Mr. Coffee knows how to say. The esteemed Joe DiMaggio still did his iconic Mr. Coffee commercials. Now, though, he was assuring continued availability for an analog model, while also offering a version with a new digital control center.
Coffee flavors ready and waiting. Mr. Coffee really knows how to say good morning.
So we were all figuring it out together, and we all made our share of mistakes.
It is now 6 minutes past the hour. This is the Satellite News Channel.
Hey, that's the way it is in live television, let me tell you.
Well, I'm ready. Did you get a camera over here? I think you can just keep coming. There you go. Nick Gowing? Well, it would appear we are not ready.
Well, Los Angeles officials are breathing easier.
The nationalists seek independence for Corsica, the Mediterranean island, under French rule. I'm awfully sorry.
And basically here we're drifting out of sight again. Here we go. Oh boy, what a morning here at SNC.
From this, we collectively developed a phrase, close enough for cable news. But the reality was we were all learning to navigate an industry about to take a quantum leap. We logged countless hours in newsrooms and control rooms, and it went by in a flash. I made the commitment, moved to Connecticut, and then one day, out of the blue, we announced we were fading to black. Turner bought us out and shut us down. Well, that's the news business. Somehow we managed to turn it into good TV and lots of fun. For most, it was our rite of passage into professionalism. I earned the national credit, built a professional director reel, learned how to apply my lifelong craft, and received a stopwatch that I used for the rest of my career.
Oh, I'm saying goodbye.
As sad as it was to see SNC go, I felt so lucky that SNC happened to me. Within weeks of going dark, I was hired to do the overnight AD shift for the Today Show. It changed everything. I was now working with Brian Gumbel and would through the 80s and 90s. The soundtrack of my life was changing, from the Dead and Dylan to TV news music.
Minutes and we'll give you the word.
Foreshadow alert. SNC was the first, but far from the last time that one opportunity ended, with a better one just ahead.